in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order! Oh!
You can be seated. That's the toughest part of my job today, is bringing the podium out. Good afternoon, I'm Bob Hart. I'm the president of the Santa Barbara Citizens Council on Crime, and I'm so glad you could all be here today to help us honor these wonderful people from law enforcement. First off, I'd like to thank our multi-agency honor guard, which is just another shining example of how the agencies within Santa Barbara County work together to work together for a common good. And I think they look like they're all part of the same agency, didn't they? Did a great job, but it's from every agency in the county pretty much. So thank you to them. We're here today to honor the best of the best. We have wonderful law enforcement in our area, and the fact that we've got some people that shine even above and beyond the norm is great, and we like the ability to be here and honor them. But before we get started, I want to just take a minute and give you some history on the H. Thomas Guerry Awards and what's happening with that. And we happen to have with us today a two-time recipient, a member of our committee, someone who has served as the mayor of the city of Goleta, but also, most importantly, was in Santa Barbara when he was 15 years old, the day that Tom Guerry was killed, and actually wrote an article to the news press about it during that year. So if I can bring forward Roger Sevis to give us a little history of the event.
It's hard to believe that that was 1970 when Tom Guerry was killed. And I remember living on the west side just a few blocks from where this happened. And I actually heard the gunshots. And it troubled me. So I wrote a letter to the editor. I was 15 years old. Never wrote a letter to the editor before. And it was so difficult for me to understand how something like that can happen in our precious community. That was basically the start of my desire to be a police officer, and I retired over 30 years later. So we're here to remember the life of Tom Guerry. He was a 7-year veteran of the Santa Barbara Police Department. He was 2 years into being a police detective, and he responded to arrest 2 armed felons that were here in our community to commit robberies. And a gun battle ensued, and that cost Tom Guerry his life. So that year, the Citizens Council of Crime was created, and now we're in our 44th year. And it was created to recognize the heroes, those that put their lives in jeopardy every single day to keep our communities safe. And we have, and I got to tell you, like Bob said, I've been honored with the award twice. And being on the committee, I got to see the citations written by the chiefs and the sheriff. And this year's no exception. We have a very high quality of winners that perform heroic services in our community to keep it safe. So clearly, we have the best of the best protecting our community. And I'm so grateful that the Citizens Council of Crime has continued on for 44 years, and I'm so thankful to be part of it. So I appreciate that. Let's hear our winners today.
Thank you, Roger. Also with us today to help us celebrate our heroes are a few dignitaries. We have representing Hannah Beth Jackson, Enrique Ruacho. Thank you for being here. Representing Das Williams in the Assembly is Hillary Blackerby. And then we have Lisa Valencia, who's representing the County Board of Supervisors, and specifically Supervisors Salud Carbajal and Janet Wolf. So thank you for being here also. We all know that Roger's here. I've got a note saying that Roger's here from the city of Goleta, but we know he's here. At this time, I think we should get right into these awards and start honoring these heroes. So if we could bring forward Officer Isaac Clocherty and Captain Marty Maples from the California Highway Patrol.
Thank you. Officer Isaac Clackerty has been with the California Highway Patrol for the past 5 years. He was assigned to our Ventura area office for his first 2 years and has been serving the Santa Barbara area since May of 2010. 2012 was one of the busiest years to date for the Santa Barbara area Highway Patrol office. With ever-increasing responsibilities, accented by record budget cuts, Officer Clackerty rose to the occasion to meet the strategic goals of the department. In 2012, he conducted over 1,300 enforcement stops, including the issuance of 818 citations for various violations of the vehicle code and 92 arrests for driving under the influence of alcohol and/or drugs. Undoubtedly, Officer Clackerty's enforcement efforts saved lives. All of this accomplished while patrolling over 17,000 miles. He was honored in 2012 by the Rotary Club, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, the Avoid the 12 program, and he was selected by his peers as the Santa Barbara Area Officer of the Year, as he provided indispensable service to the citizens of California. Officer Clackerty exemplifies the goals of saving lives and service to the public, as well as our departmental organizational values of fairness, respect, ethical practices, and equitable treatment for all. Officer Clackerty's commitment to the public was exemplified on November 30th at 8:15 p.m. when he responded to a major injury collision on US 101 southbound at Refugio State Beach. A high-speed vehicle being driven by an intoxicated driver left the roadway and overturned in the rising surf. Officer Clackerty arrived on scene, established incident command, directed medical personnel to the dark and overgrown beach location, and rendered life-saving efforts to ensure the rising water did not interfere with the rescue efforts. His quick actions, calm demeanor, and first aid measures undoubtedly saved the life of the errant driver. Officer Clackerty maintains a dedicated training agenda and continually seeks to improve his skills and gain enhanced knowledge to better serve the community. This is demonstrated by the fact that Officer Clackerty oftentimes attends training at his own expense in order to enhance his knowledge and skills, ultimately to benefit the community. Also during 2012, Officer Clackerty was selected to perform an internship on one of our regional auto theft task forces. He often serves as an officer in charge, directing the activities of the other officers assigned to his shift, and he is one of our drug recognition evaluation program coordinators. Officer Clackerty's selfless attitude and commitment to the community is also demonstrated in the numerous times he has canceled his vacation days or days off and volunteered to come in to work during times of natural disasters, critical incidents, and community events. For his outstanding work ethic and a true desire to make a difference in the community, the Santa Barbara Citizens Council on Crime is proud to honor Officer Isaac Clackerty with its award for superior performance.
While he's getting even more awards and handshakes, we can bring up at this time Lieutenant Bob Mott from the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department, along with Sheriff Bill Brown. Thanks for flying in at the last minute here, Sheriff.
I'd like to start tonight by extending my thanks and appreciation, and indeed the thanks and appreciation of all the men and women of the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office to the Santa Barbara Citizens Council on Crime for continuing to perpetuate the memory of H. Thomas Guerry in this fashion. Tom Guerry stands in a long line of courageous law enforcement officers from across our nation who throughout our history have laid down their lives in the defense of freedom and the American way of life. And through these awards, his name lives on in a way that humbles those of us who continue to protect and serve the people of Santa Barbara County. Tonight it's my pleasure to present an award for superior performance to Lieutenant Robert Bob Mott. Bob is currently assigned as the manager of the Santa Barbara County Air Support Unit. He has had numerous assignments within our agency since he was hired in 1985. As a lieutenant, those assignments have included court services, custody operations, and law enforcement operations. As a sergeant, special operations, narcotics, patrol operations. As a detective, he worked narcotics, and as a deputy, he worked in courts and in patrol operations. Collaterally, he has been the manager of the Sheriff's Mounted Unit, our equestrian unit, for over a dozen years, utilizing this unit to patrol Lake Cachuma on holiday weekends, to provide mounted law enforcement for the Isla Vista operations during Halloween, and riding in any number of parades and other events. Early in 2012, a group composed of 2 members of the Board of Supervisors, the county executive officer, the county fire chief, and myself, along with other key county personnel, began work to merge the fire department and the sheriff's office aviation operations into one combined unit. Sheriff's Lieutenant Robert R. Mott was selected and assigned as the manager of the new air support unit on February the 20th, 2012. He was tasked with overseeing the successful merger of both entities into one multi-mission capable public safety aviation unit. During the last year, Lieutenant Mott has successfully overseen the unit merger, working within the parameters of an operational agreement signed between myself and the fire chief to assure the qualifications of pilots, crew chiefs, and mechanics who work in the new unit. Lieutenant Mott had his staff help him identify which aircraft should remain in the unit's flying inventory, and worked with various vendors to assure that the unit had 2 medium-lift helicopters, 2 lighter observation helicopters, and a fixed-wing aircraft operational and at its disposal. In doing this, he has worked around such challenges as aircraft age, mechanical and maintenance demands, cross-training requirements, equipment shortages, and staffing availability. As a result of his tenacity, the unit now has a cadre of highly skilled aircrew who fly 2 single-engine Huey helicopters, 1 twin-engine Huey helicopter, 2 light observation helicopters, and 1 fixed-wing aircraft in response to a full range of public safety missions. Through his leadership, Lieutenant Mott skillfully melded divergent fire and law enforcement mission philosophies and staff personalities in order to achieve a collaborative, multi-mission approach. He and his team debuted the unit's newest aircraft, Copter 3, in a well-planned and executed commissioning ceremony that garnered positive local and national attention to Santa Barbara County's public safety aviation capabilities. He completely consolidated the two units' written procedures into a revised operations manual that is being approved by Fire and Sheriff Command and executive staff. He's also learned and supported the requirements of medical rescues and advanced life-saving techniques, since fire paramedics provide these services to the air support unit from a nearby fire station. Creating the unified command structure and complex staffing schedules that all the members of the air support unit and neighboring fire paramedics now adhere to were difficult challenges, but Lieutenant Mott rose to the occasion, and he and his team delivered. The Santa Barbara County Air Support Unit is now operating as one of only a handful of combined law and fire aviation units in the nation. As the Sheriff's Manager of the Air Support Unit for the past 15 months, Lieutenant Mott has played a pivotal role in the unit's success. As such, and for these reasons stated, it is an honor for me to be able to present the Santa Barbara County Citizens Council on Crime Award for Superior Performance to Sheriff's Lieutenant Robert R. Mott. Congratulations.
Next on the agenda, if we could bring up Corporal Matt Stearns of the University Police Department and Chief Dustin Olson.
I feel like I drew the short straw here because I always have to talk behind the sheriff, so it's a tough one. I wrote down all the things I was going to say, but he stole my thunder, so to speak. But I do want to just really tell you that I appreciate everybody's support in coming out here. I think this is a fantastic event, so I appreciate certainly Bob and the Citizens Council on Crime for their hard work, and to the families that really support the men and women that we're here to honor today. And today is a unique day for me because I get to stand up here twice. So this is my first time to honor two people, certainly in the first, or in one day at this great ceremony. So without further ado, I'll tell you a little bit about Corporal Matt Stern. He's been a police officer at UCSB for about 8 years. Prior to becoming a police officer, Matt served the UCSB PD as a community service officer before he graduated with distinction. Concurrent to his police service, he's also served as a member of the United States Army Reserves as a captain, where he has completed 2 tours of active duty and served in Iraq, and he currently holds a company-level command. In June 2012, Matt received and was honored with the 2012 Award for Administrative Excellence from the International Association of Campus Law Enforcement Administrators, where I attended the opening ceremony where he was given this award in Reno, Nevada. It's for outstanding service in policy and planning, investigations, and crime prevention. In the past year, Corporal Matt Stern has taken on the tremendous responsibility of creating, designing, writing, and editing the community outreach newsletter, the Gaucho Guardian. The newsletter, which is available to the UCSB community at large, delivers public safety information as well as highlighting the positive efforts of our department. He has sought out not only input from various department members and work centers, but his content also includes and engages community stakeholders. Corporal Stern was the genesis for the development of numerous campus police peer education public service video announcements, which you can see on our webpage. In the past year, he's taken on an advisory role, empowering our student employees to create tailored videos to address safety concerns with their peers. These enhance wellness, support crime prevention, and safety information with the UCSB campus. Corporal Stearns' coordination with the UCSB's Director of First-Year Students and the department's Public Relations Specialists has resulted in the creation of 6 of these videos, which all first-year students now view prior to attending UCSB. Recently, Corporal Stern received praise from a supervisor for his participation in a community video game competition, which he set up to have the police officers engage and play with the students. It's called Call of Duty: Cops versus Students. We haven't been so successful, Matt, in winning that one yet, but that's okay. This event's another great example and an opportunity that Matt has established for the police department to really conduct some solid outreach to students and help build a strong and better relationship. The event has been well attended and has been a huge success with students and the police staff. So it's really, honestly, for Matt's superior leadership, his administrative prowess, community-oriented policing attitude, and commitment to the campus that he's here, and I am proud to honor him today with the Award for Superior Performance. You're going to have enough wall to put this? Yeah. You get to shake everybody's hand.
At this time, I'd like to call forward Detective Michael Parker and welcome Chief Ralph Miller of the Santa Maria Police Department. Excuse me.
That's all right. Thank you.
Ralph Martin, I'm
Mark,
sorry.
You can call me anything you want. Doesn't
right.
matter to me. Come on up here, Mikey. I, too, want to thank the council for recognizing all of us here, but I want to particularly congratulate all of the recipients up on the stage. And to show my appreciation, I'm going to personally send each of them an application for the Santa Maria Police Department so that all of them have the opportunity to work in one location with Detective Mike Parker, who has been employed with us for the past 5 years. And during his tenure with the department, he has served 3 years as a patrol officer and now almost 3 years as a gang investigator. He consistently maintains a professional and positive attitude towards his peers, supervisors, the public, and to those he arrests. He sets a standard for helping others with their caseload while maintaining his own caseload. Detective Parker certainly enjoys his job, and it shows not only in his energetic attitude, but his willingness to go out and help others, whether they're patrol or detectives. Detective Parker is familiar with criminal law, case law, and the intricacies of those laws as they apply to the arrest of suspects in very complex investigations, of which Santa Maria has certainly had a few in the past couple of years. He is familiar with the theories of criminal liability, which dictate under what circumstances a suspect might be prosecuted. He has put his knowledge to good use. In addition, Detective Parker has become a skilled informant manager, which is a very difficult task. This year, he has managed at least a half a dozen gang members turned police informant. Detective Parker understands co-conspirator and informant statements and how they might be used in court later on. As a result, Detective Parker has been able to identify suspects and make numerous arrests this year on major cases involving gang violence. Now, Detective Parker certainly thinks outside the box and is always searching for new ways to prove criminal cases. Now, it's not unusual. Many of them use GPS technology to solve, and he did one in particular on Romer Street where he solved a homicide. A carload of gang members chased down a lone victim who was also driving a car. During the subsequent chase, the gang members fired multiple shots at the victim, striking his car. Using cell tower technology, Detective Parker was able to show that the suspected gang members were all together when they came to the exact crime scene and when they fled. This evidence was devastating in court. Faced with irrefutable evidence, one suspect pled guilty prior to the trial and took a 35-year sentence. The other suspect is awaiting trial and is facing life sentence. During the summer of 2012, a Santa Maria gang member stabbed and killed a man after an argument in a parking lot of a local convenience store. Detective Parker participated in the follow-up investigation and learned that the suspect had borrowed a friend's cell phone and made a phone call to a family member. Detective Parker was given the important task of locating the murder suspect. Relying on experience he gained tracking down the other murder suspect in another year in 2011, he got straight to work. Using cell phone technology, Detective Parker had completed the task within just a few minutes. He found the GPS location of the suspect, directed assisting officers to the scene. Once they arrived at the home where the suspect was hiding, they found him walking to his car with his bags, ready to flee the scene. Now, Detective Parker is a master at uncovering criminal street gang intelligence. He uses many avenues to accomplish this task. During the past year, he has located, documented, and used gang intelligence uncovered during filed contacts, during probation searches, and from cell phones and social networking websites, all from informants. He has written at least, just in the past few months, a half a dozen search warrants to gather information on criminal activity that he located just on the internet. He has written numerous gang packets, which helps our deputy DAs in court, and under his findings, and proving that suspects belong to a specific criminal street gang. During 2012, Detective Parker testified as a gang expert in court 6 times in 6 major cases. He has now testified as a gang expert 12 times in his very short career. He was the designated gang expert for his first jury trial in 2012. This was a very complex case involving 4 separate home invasion robberies. Detective Parker was an excellent witness, testifying calmly and with confidence. He has the ability to articulate himself with clarity, even under cross-examination from a defense attorney. He does not shy away from the challenge presenting gang evidence in court. In fact, I think he relishes it. He prepared a detailed PowerPoint presentation to display his gang intelligence before the jury. The case resulted in conviction. Suspect was sentenced to 168 years to life. You'll probably get the life before he gets 168 years. Detective Parker has done an excellent job testifying as a gang expert on another murder case this year, and he has earned an incredible reputation with the DA's office for his expertise in this field. Detective Parker has become very good at the art of interviewing. He has been able to elicit confessions from hardcore gang members during just the past year. He has learned when to press suspects for more details and when to let their lies do the talking. As an example, during this year, he was able to elicit confessions from gang members who lied on the witness stand, stabbed an innocent victim, illegally sold firearms, committed robberies, carjackings, and many other crimes. Professional work ethic is another area in which Detective Parker excels. He enjoys his job immensely, and it shows in everything he does. Detective Parker comes to work and hits his desk excited to make progress on all the cases and helping others. He is a master critical thinker who is always evaluating the strengths and weaknesses of his cases. He often calls or sends supervisors text messages on his days off. I'm going to get him to stop that. He needs his time off. He's a professional in all that he does, and his enthusiasm is evident in the quality of his work he produces. I've been here 10 months, and all I hear about is Detective Parker. So it is for his dedication and selfless service to the citizens of Santa Maria and the Santa Barbara Citizens Council on Crime. I'm proud to honor Detective Mike Parker for the award for superior performance. Thank you, Mike. All right, brother. Here we go. Go ahead and that up. Watch this one.
Thank you, Chief Martin. If I say it out loud, I might get it, you know. Chief Martin. Okay, I got it now. All right. And while he's going through the line there, if we could bring up Senior Deputy Probation Officer Todd Malicic and Chief of the Probation Department, Beverly Taylor.
Well, good afternoon, and I too want to say thank you to the Santa Barbara Citizen Council on Crime for their time, their resources, their energies that they put forward to honoring our men and women of public safety, so thank you. Officer Todd Malicic began his career with the Santa Barbara County Probation Department in 1997 as a juvenile institutions officer at the Santa Barbara Juvenile Hall. In 2004, he was promoted to Deputy Probation Officer and assigned to the Santa Barbara Juvenile Services Unit. Officer Malicic held every position in the Juvenile Division, including truancy officer, court investigator, early intervention officer, and high-risk supervision officer. In 2007, Officer Malicic was promoted to Senior Deputy Probation Officer and served as the director of the Via Esperanza Counseling and Education Center until it was closed in 2010 as a result of budget reductions. Currently, Officer Malicic has a supervision caseload. He serves as an administrative senior within the unit and performs court hearing officer duties. Todd Malicic is pivotal to the juvenile probation unit in Santa Barbara. He functions as a field training officer, training officers on requirements and responsibilities of field work. He works collaboratively with local law enforcement promoting public safety by coordinating probation's participation in special events, which include the county fair, fiesta, and Halloween in Isla Vista. He coordinates sweeps and searches and joint field work. Officer Malicic has earned the respect of his peers and has been selected as the Probation Officer Staff of the Year for Santa Barbara 3 times during his career. He is dedicated to community safety and supports the change of our juvenile offenders. Officer Malicic maintains regular contact with the Sheriff's School Resource Deputies and with the Santa Barbara Police Department's Youth Service Detectives and Gang Suppression Team to ensure that information is shared regarding potential threats to officer safety and to ensure that appropriate supervision and interventions are made with juvenile offenders. In the last year, Officer Malicic provided intensive field training for 5 new probation field officers, and in addition to supervising a high-risk caseload and regularly appearing in court to represent probation cases, Todd, due to staff vacancies, assumed the responsibility for a caseload of approximately 50 additional minors. He too has leadership qualities that his staff says that he exemplifies just superior leadership and direction. And on a personal note, Todd and his wife Angie just welcomed their first child, daughter Brooklyn. And his wife Angie is here today, and we wanted to know where that baby is, and home with grandma. So congratulations to that as well. Officer Malicic, consistently high performance as a senior deputy probation officer, is deserving of the recognition bestowed by the Citizens Council on Crime Award for superior performance. Congratulations.
And if we could next have head up this way, Officer Douglas Klug and Officer Keld Hove, along with Chief Cam Sanchez from the Santa Barbara Police Department.
What Chief Martin doesn't know, he's going to send out applications, and today's the day, ironically, that everyone here already passed our background. So we're ready. Thank you for having us today, and really want to congratulate all the recipients from all the agencies. Year in, year out, great work is done to keep our community safe by everyone that you see in the room. So this is always an honor to be here. The incident for which Officers Hove and Officer Klug were nominated to receive the award for superior performance occurred on January 14th, 2013 at 3:40 p.m. At that time, Officer Klug was dispatched to the cliffs of the Douglas Family Preserve regarding a suicidal 18-year-old woman. Officer Hove, who is an expert crisis negotiator, responded to assist. Upon arrival, they found the woman perched partway down the edge of the steep cliff with a 100-plus foot drop below. Investigation revealed that the woman had a history of prior suicide attempts and that she had just been involved in a domestic battery at a nearby residence. Initial efforts to talk her off the cliff had been fruitless. Already partway down, she slid an additional 30 feet to a small outcropping, making her precarious position even more inaccessible. It would be hazardous to approach her or to attempt to stop her if she decided to jump. As time passed, rescuers' concerns were heightened due to the fading daylight. Officer Hove and Officer Klug volunteered to approach the woman to try to talk her out of committing suicide. With the assistance of the fire department, these guys, were fitted with rappelling harnesses and anchored with ropes to trees at the top of the cliff. Realizing the woman's fragile psyche, Officer Hove and Officer Klug continually reassured the woman while slowly lowering themselves down the cliff face. After 60 minutes of calming, compassionate dialogue, Officer Hove convinced the woman to extend her hand to him. Officer Hove and Officer Klug then assisted her safety back up the cliff, where she was reunited with her family and contacted by mental health professionals. The skill, courage, compassion demonstrated by Officers Hove and Officer Klug led to the successful outcome of this incident and exemplify the highest standards of the Santa Barbara Police Department and the law enforcement profession. Officer Hove has been employed by the Santa Barbara Police Department for 15 years. He has served as a patrol officer, beat coordinator, field training officer, and tactical patrol force officer. He is currently the senior officer in the police department's restorative policing team. He also holds a collateral assignment as a team leader on the department's crisis negotiation response team. Officer Hove has twice received the H. Thomas Guerry Award for Valor. Officer Doug Klug is a 15-year veteran of law enforcement. He started his career with the Ventura County Sheriff's Department, where he served as a field training officer and firearms instructor. In 2005, he was hired by the Santa Barbara Police Department, where he has served as patrol officer and is presently a field training officer. In 2007, Officer Klug received the Santa Barbara Police Department's Officer of the Year Award and Mothers Against Drunk Driving Top Gun Award for making the most DUI arrests in Santa Barbara County. In 2011, 12, and 13, he was again recognized by Mothers Against Drunk Drivers for his high numbers of DUI arrests. Officer Klug is certified as a law enforcement drug recognition expert and instructor as well. In recognition of these heroic efforts of these two fine men, the Santa Barbara Citizens Council on Crime is proud to honor these officers with its award for superior performance. Congratulations. Good job. Very proud of you. Great job. Great job.
At this time, I'd like to call forward Senior Deputy District Attorney Ann Bramson and the District Attorney for Santa Barbara County, Joyce Dudley. And I'll lower the mic a little.
I want to encourage those of you standing in the back to fill up these two rows here, because when it comes to Ann Bramson, much to her dismay, I will not be brief. Fair warning. I'm getting out of striking distance. Thank you, Santa Barbara Citizens of Crime, and thank you all for coming here. It's very difficult to be a law enforcement officer or official, and we can't do it without the support of the community and the support of our loved ones and colleagues. And congratulations to all the awardees. It's an incredible thing to be given the Guerry Award, and I know how much it means to all of them. Ann L. Bramson walked into my life in the spring of 1994 when she was a mere college student seeking an internship. At the time, she was a beautiful, young, avid equestrian with a passion for animals and an interest in the law. Very little has changed in the last 2 decades except for her long list of accomplishments, which I will now take a few minutes to discuss. Her accomplishments, not necessarily in this order. She has purchased and trained several magnificent horses and married Ben Bramson, a great guy who also happens to be a superior equestrian veterinarian. I know both of these things to be true because I had the honor of presiding over their wedding a long time ago. During the past 19 years, Anne has literally flown through the ranks of the district attorney's office, holding every possible position, from college intern, law school intern, deputy district attorney, senior deputy district attorney, chief deputy district attorney, I'm not done yet, assistant deputy district attorney, and district attorney. Additionally, she has tried every type of crime our office prosecutes, and did so in every case with the same level of commitment and intensity. Anne would say she did so because true justice requires nothing less. Anne has, in fact, an unrelenting drive to hold criminals accountable for their criminal acts, while at the same time being uncompromising in her dedication to professionalism and the protection of the innocent. Additionally, she readily shares her wisdom with others. When law enforcement officers in North County need expert advice on a major crime investigation, Anne is the first person the detectives call. After spending the previous 5 years in management, Anne begged me to return to being a trial lawyer, to return to the passion of investigating major cases and conducting jury trials. I painfully let her go, but her return to the courtroom has been extraordinary. A series of officer-involved investigations began in 2011, but steadily continued into 2012. During that time, Anne responded to 9 officer-involved shootings in a 16-month period. An officer-involved shooting call-out would take the better part of a day or night or both, depending on the time of the shooting. After the initial call-out on each officer-involved shooting, Anne then spent months working with investigators to ensure that all the follow-up requests were thoroughly completed. Finally, for most of these investigations, Anne had to not only review reports, but also listen to audio recordings, watch the video recordings, review the photographic evidence, and write a detailed summary of the investigation. This work is arduous and painful, and she performed remarkably well, despite also carrying a very heavy caseload. Once, she even worked all night long while she was in the middle of prosecuting a murder trial. Her trials are vast and they're legendary. Time only permits me to talk about a few. I did warn you. People versus Ernie Santos. He was released from prison after serving lengthy prison term for rape. He was a 3-striker. Shortly after his release, he kidnapped, bound, and raped a woman with whom he had been corresponding while in prison. The victim was ashamed and fearful and did not immediately report the attack to the police. She told a friend who encouraged her to come forward. Anne prosecuted the case, and the jury convicted Santos of multiple counts and special allegations, resulting in a sentence of 333 years to life. People versus Fernand Vistro. The victim, Vita Vistro, and her husband had recently separated as she wanted a divorce. She was living next door to him with their young son and daughter in the home of extended family members. She was trying to make the transition as amicable as she could. The defendant refused to let her go. He went into her home and her bedroom while the children were asleep. He ultimately strangled her and suffocated her with a trash bag and duct tape. I spoke to a reporter yesterday that still remembers Anne's closing argument. Vita was a beloved mother, daughter, sister, and friend. The defendant selfishly and viciously robbed her of a long and full life. The jury convicted the defendant after only 1 hour of deliberation, and he is serving a life sentence. People versus Jeremy Wallen. This violent Northwest gang member recruited several other gang members to carry out the kidnap and execution style of murder Jeremy Grinder in 2004. Grinder had not been following the gang rules. Wallen was a high-ranking, extremely vicious Northwest gang member. All involved or whom had knowledge were terrified or too loyal or both, and the defendant remained free of any charges for years. In 2009, through excellent investigative work, the Santa Maria Police Department gang unit cracked the case, brought their investigation to Anne. She tried Wallen, who represented himself pro per, convicted him of murder in gang-related special circumstances. He's serving life without possibility of parole. People v. Joseph de Leon, another violent Northwest gang member, three-striker, who'd been sought for arrest by the Santa Maria Police Department. Once Santa Maria PD officers spotted him in a vehicle, they pursued him. As his fellow gang associate drove, he fired shots from the back passenger window at pursuing officers. He was ultimately apprehended and charged with numerous counts, including 5 counts of attempt murder on a police officer. He was sentenced to 400 years to life. In September and October 2012, Ms. Bramson spent 5 weeks in trial with Alejandro Carrillo case. Pedro Gonzalez's body was found February 15, 2010, dumped in a field. After a long and grueling trial, Mr. Carrillo was convicted of first-degree murder with gun enhancements and gang allegations. He received a maximum sentence of 63 years to life. On July 31st, 2011, Isaac Martinez threatened to kill his 35-year-old estranged wife, Maria Estrado Martinez. He said he would kill her on Friday. On Friday, August 5th, 2011, at approximately 5:20 p.m., Isaac Martinez followed Maria Martinez to a convenience store. As she walked to her car, he attacked her in broad daylight with a .32 caliber handgun, striking her with it on the back of her head. He then shot her at close range. Ms. Bramson and the investigators put together an impervious case against Mr. Martinez. On February 28, 2013, he pled guilty to first-degree murder and the use of a firearm. He was sentenced to 75 years to life. He will be eligible for parole when he is 106 years old. Ann is now the prosecutor in a multiple defendant murder case in Santa Maria. She, along with her partner, Megan Ross, another Guerry winner, will do another extraordinary job in that case. So, Ann has gone from being my college intern to my boss, to arguably, and I would say, the most successful district attorney this office has ever seen. There is no one in this room, including her beloved husband, Ben, who has known Ann longer than I. And so perhaps I'm in the best position to say Ann Bramson is exceedingly smart, outrageously brave, fiercely loyal, and totally committed to seeking justice for all. It is for those reasons and so many more that the Santa Barbara Citizen Council of Crime is proud to honor Ann Bramson with its award for superior performance.
Okay, we still have time to see if anybody can go any longer than that. At this time, we'd like to bring up Chief Larry Ralston of the Lompoc Police Department to honor Sergeant Charles Strange.
Well, that's, again, I want to thank the Santa Barbara Council on Crime, Bob Hart, for putting this together every year. This is the 44th year, and I've had the honor of being in Santa Barbara County in law enforcement for almost 30 years and be able to attend this probably more than half of those times. And if you look at the list, the recipients of the award, of the VALOR Award and of the Superior Service Award, I've had the honor of working alongside many of those men and women. And the honor and the privilege that I've had to be able to work with them, some of those people are here today. One of those individuals is a close friend, Robert Ramos. And Bob Ramos was killed several years ago. And Bob was the recipient in 2000 for this award. He was a close, dear friend of mine. And when he received the award, I was here to watch him receive that, and he was so proud of that. He wore that ribbon with honor, and he was just, you know, when we would talk about that award, it meant so much to him. The person that we're here to honor tonight from Lompoc Police Department is Sergeant Charles Chuck Strange. He's a 26-year member of our police department. He served in about every assignment during his career and currently is a supervisor of our community services unit. This past year, and actually going back to 2011, Sergeant Strange led a Detective Bureau investigation of a homicide wherein a known drug dealer was gunned down in a carport of his home. Through a tireless investigation, Sergeant Strange and his team of detectives from the Bureau and our gang and narcotics enforcement team were able to identify an elaborate scheme to kill this individual for failing to cooperate and pay taxes to a local gang. The so-called shot caller of this crime and his several young gang members failed to calculate Sergeant Strange and his team and how they would investigate this crime so thoroughly. With the tenacity of a bulldog, Sergeant Strange led his team through countless hours of interviews, of witnesses, of interviews with informants, of citizens, and all in order to identify all of the parties responsible for this crime. In collaboration with Senior Deputy District Attorney Steve Foley from the District Attorney's Office in Santa Maria, Sergeant Strange quarterbacked the LPD team through a 12-week jury trial of 3 defendants. 5 other defendants had already pled out to various charges, including first and second degree murder, accessory to murder, and gang enhancements. In the end, the shot caller of this crime was convicted of first degree murder and will soon be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. A second defendant was convicted of first degree murder and will be sentenced to 50 years prison. And a third counterpart in this trial will be soon will be sentenced to 57 years in prison. One suspect remains at large, and I'm confident that Sergeant Strange and his team will not slow down in their pursuit of this individual. Since 2012, Sergeant Strange has led this investigation and trial while supervising our community services unit. He's also a member of the Lompoc Police Officers Association. He represents them as their president. He's the SWAT tactical commander. He is the face of our Lompoc Police Beat TV show. And he's a father of 4, and he has 5 grandkids. I'm confident that this tough case could not have been successfully prosecuted and successfully put together without Sergeant Strange's efforts. And it is for his dedication and selfless service to the citizens of Lompoc that the Santa Barbara Citizens Council on Crime is proud to honor Sergeant Strange with its award for superior performance.
We now have 2 recipients coming forward for the H. Thomas Guerry Award for Valor. And we'd like to call back Sheriff Bill Brown and start with Senior Deputy Christopher Gotschall.
Well, the first thing I want to do is order publicly Chris to not accept that application from the Santa Maria Police Department. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Christopher Gotschall, who was hired as a sheriff's deputy with the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office in 2002. In 2007, he was assigned as a narcotics investigator. Senior Deputy Gotschall has been an active member of our Special Enforcement Team, our SWAT team, since 2007. He was appointed to the rank of Sheriff's Senior Deputy in May of 2012, and he received both the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office Medal of Valor and the H. Thomas Guerry Award for Skill in Conflict Resolution in 2006 for his response to the tragic Goleta postal shooting. In early October, Senior Deputy Christopher Gotschall responded to a critical incident. Of significance during this call was the courage demonstrated by Senior Deputy Gotschall as he placed himself in grave danger, responding and dealing with a volatile and difficult circumstance. Due to the gravity of the situation, there was no other alternative as direct intervention was warranted. During the early morning hours on October the 6th, 2012, Senior Deputy Gotschall was on a traffic enforcement stop in the area of Turnpike Road and Hollister Avenue in Goleta when he heard gunshots coming from an adjacent neighborhood. While clearing the traffic stop, he advised our Emergency Communications Center and other responding law enforcement officers how to deploy into the area. As Senior Deputy Gotschall drove into the residential neighborhood in the area of Andretta and Rosemead, he was confronted with a male suspect exiting a vehicle holding a semi-automatic handgun. Senior Deputy Gotschall immediately advised other responding units of his observations, and he verbally ordered the man to drop the weapon while at the same time advising several other people in the area who had been attending a large party to flee for their safety. When the suspect, who had already been shooting at others, turned in his direction, still brandishing the handgun, Senior Deputy Gotschall shot him and neutralized the threat. It was later determined that the suspect had armed himself with a gun and had gone to the residence to confront family and friends. He had fired multiple gunshots at the location, and had it not been for Senior Deputy Gottschall's experience, his tactics, and his quick and decisive action that night, many innocent people could have been seriously injured or killed. For his bravery and his resolute action, it's an honor for me to be able to present the Santa Barbara Citizen Council on Crime's H. Thomas Guerry Award for Valor to one of my heroes, Senior Deputy Christopher Gotschall.
I can now call back up Chief Dustin Olson of the University Police Department to honor Officer Ryan Smith.
Thanks, Bob. I'd like to introduce to you Officer Ryan Smith. He's been a police officer here with UCSB since August of 2012. Prior to this, Ryan was a police officer and sergeant with the Santa Paula Police Department. He's a 2011 graduate of the FBI National Academy, 2010 graduate of the West Point Military Academy and LAPD Leadership Program. Officer Ryan Smith is truly the essence of a cop's cop. On Saturday, November 17, 2012, at just after 1 a.m., Officer Ryan Smith was in the area of Acorn Park in the Isla Vista community. While addressing the needs of an assault victim, gunshots rang out from the adjacent block of 6500 Sabado Tardy. Recognizing the serious nature of the situation and threat to the community, Officer Smith immediately ran towards the gunfire. While running, Officer Smith notified dispatch of the gunshots and the location so other units could begin to respond quickly and effectively. As he arrived in the Sabado Tardy area on foot, Officer Smith observed one male fleeing in the opposite direction of the other pedestrians. The male subject was seen by Officer Smith to run between apartment buildings going south. Without delay, Officer Smith established an initial perimeter, and as additional officers and deputies began to arrive on foot, bike, and vehicle, Officer Smith directed these resources to a wider perimeter, eventually containing the area where the subject was later found hiding in a residence. As a result of Officer Smith's actions and in clear demonstration of his superior leadership qualities, his display of bravery and excellent police work, the Santa Barbara Citizens Council on Crime and myself are proud to honor and present to you Officer Ryan Smith.
You know, it's another year ago, and wow, you know, unbelievable, all these great stories the great work being done by the men and women of law enforcement here in Santa Barbara County. For those of you that are here in the audience, I need to let you know that if you would like to see this again, it is being rebroadcast. If you'd like to make copies for any of your family members, you can tape it off the television shows, or why not tape these and show them in the schools? Something like that. So it'll be rebroadcast both tomorrow and Friday at 9 a.m. on the Santa Barbara County Government Access Channel, which in Santa Barbara is Channel 20. And then again on Saturday and Sunday at 5 p.m. So it'll be 4 rebroadcasts. For those of you that are here, we have dinner at the Cabrillo Arts Center. You are all invited. Please come down and help us give more honor to these wonderful recipients while we all have some dinner. If those of you are watching on TV, it's like, too bad this is tape delayed and you missed the dinner. But with that, we conclude our event. Thank you so much for being here to help us honor these folks.